Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Monday, July 10th, 2023 by Gaia Blooming. I'm Mimi and our energy mantra for today is I align my actions with nurturing energies. And today we have some shift going on, and this week in general is preparing us for some major shift next Monday. So we have the nodes winding down. This is their last week in Taurus and Scorpio. So expect major Taurus Scorpio lessons to be popping up, coming through. Lessons around North Node, your worth, knowing your value, honoring your gifts, bringing forth your gifts, leaning into the support of nature, leaning into grounding physical energies, honoring sensual energies as part of where we want to move into, and watching for where fear and survival tends to pull us out of those energies. Now, we do want to honor South Node Scorpio by being able to put boundaries in place, boundaries that support us leaning into abundance, leaning into pleasure, leaning into the goodness of being here on this planet. Boundaries are an important part of that. So utilize that. But you may also need to put boundaries. I don't know if boundaries is the right word, but when the fears pop up in you, you may need to, work on that part of yourself and support yourself with boundaries, basically. So, big week building into that. We also are building into Venus retrograde, which will begin next week as well. So, Venus is just finishing up these final few degrees before moving into that retrograde. But Mars is pushing us into the next. Mars is moving into Virgo today. Mars will be moving into Virgo 4:40 a.m. It's always interesting when Mars shifts signs early on a Monday morning. While Virgo is efficient and ready for service, Mars at 0 degrees can be a challenge. So you may feel challenged getting up, getting out of bed today, wanting to do anything. May be very challenging. We also have Mercury shifting signs today, not till the evening. Mercury will be moving into Leo. But Mercury at that 29-degree Cancer, between the Cancer feels coming up and Mars at 0, you may feel a little lump-like. So apologize for that. Not that it's my decision, but just reporting the astro choreography. Mars in Virgo. Mars will be hanging out in Virgo for almost the entirety of Venus retrograde. It will shift into Libra for just the final days of Venus retrograde. So it'll be in Virgo all the way till August 27th, I believe. Now, Mars in Virgo is interesting, and I find it interesting that this is where it will be during this Venus retrograde, because to me Virgo is the sign of healing, and so with Mars in Virgo, we may feel inspired to take healing action, which could be very supportive of this Venus retrograde energy. But Mars in Virgo can also get hypercritical and overdoer, be an overdoer energy. And that could be very taxing for Venus during the retrograde. Finding our balance will be important. If you've been watching me for a long time, you know when I talk about Virgo energy, I like to talk about our wholeness, our holiness. And when I speak of our wholeness, it's like the sum of our parts. To me, that is our body, mind, spirit, soul, and heart. And so with Mars now in Virgo, we want to be checking in with the sum of our parts, our wholeness, our holiness, in moving forward. And I love that I actually have the integration card for today, the top of the cards. The integration card to me is finding the balance between these energies in moving forward. Your soul is important, your spirit is important, but so is your body. Your mental energy is important, and the heart. And I love that we move into this holiness after we experience the heart with Leo energy. So as you move forward, check in with these pieces of yourself. If a part is like, I don't know, be willing to listen. You are like a committee. You are like a council moving forward out there in the world. And hopefully you will be taking action that is ultimately healing for you. And that's up to you to decide what that is. But through this time, notice that. Now, Mars will be making an opposition with Saturn. Not quite yet, but incoming with all the challenging actions. I ultimately think that this will be really healing when Mars and Saturn are opposing, especially if we can draw in the mystical with this energy. Keep that in mind, because Mars, any sign in Virgo, can have hyper reality focus. And sometimes when we get into hyper reality focus, we forget that like a larger portion of what happens in the world happens in the unseen, that there's magic for us in the unseen. Keep that in your logical mind to support Mars moving through Virgo energy, and it will support some of these other transits that we're going to be going through. Mercury finishing up in Cancer. Like I said, you might feel a little lumpy, you may feel a little emotional. Get the emotions out, even if they feel illogical. You might be a little bit at odds with that energy, but get those energies out. I also always mention when we have strong Virgo energy and we have Cancer energy, those two can tend to be the warriors of the zodiac. So the combination can throw up our worry, which may send us spiraling into South Node Scorpio fear energy. If you find worry coming up, what part of you is needing healing in that area? What part of you is needing TLC to support you in and through that? I didn't mention that we actually have a third energy shifting, actually four. We also have Pallas moving into Virgo today, which is going to be interesting. Pallas and Mars shifting into Virgo together. Pallas can represent patriarchal energies, and so it's kind of like that push and pull. Like, can I honor this wholeness, the holiness, or am I going to flip into that responsible doer that the world has shown me that I should be, right? So we have that shifting as well. Again, keeping the magical in place helps break some of those old patriarchal boxes. But we also have the moon shifting signs today. The moon moving into Taurus, and the moon will be meeting up with the North Node in Taurus for one last time, pulling on that South Node energy. So here's an opportunity to notice those shadows. The moon can show us where we have hidden layers to work through, to deal with. So that's going to be happening later in the afternoon. And Mars, actually newly in Virgo, is also connecting to the nodal energy. So we're going to have the moon and Mars and the nodes. Which way are you moving? And I would remind you, don't move the way fear makes you move. Move the way love makes you move. Find that space in you that feels good. Move from that place, not from the fear place. I think so often we can be so induced by fear, and maybe it is meant to help us shift, but I think our lives and world goes better when we move from love, when we move from goodness, when we move in pleasure, when we move from knowing our worth. So keep that in mind with this energy. We also have so much. Moon finishing up in Aries, connecting to Pluto. That could be a little explosive. Mercury and Pluto also pulling against each other. The universe is like pushing some buttons today. Watch the power chords. Watch the power plays coming up. What does maturity look like for you? Interesting to have the maturity card and the integration card. Both of these cards to me are about showing up in our wholeness, our holiness. How can you show up maturely. Look at this card, even the flowering card. I think the universe is like showing much faith in us between these cards. Like, you've been getting these lessons. You've been getting hit, right? We've all been getting hit. Slow down. You know how to do this. You know how to move towards success. You know what that energy feels like. That being said, you may feel a little bamboozled. You may feel a little bopped around. Mercury into Leo. I'm going to talk about that in tomorrow's scope. It's not going to move until 9 o'clock Pacific time. The scope will be out by then for tomorrow, but just be aware, Mercury shenanigans may be afoot amidst all of this. So that is it for today. You can book a reading. I am officially booking my Venus retrograde readings. So if you emailed me before and I didn't message you back, look for that, but you can always email me again. And other readings are available as well. I'm sorry if you've been somebody that was waiting. The last couple weeks were just too much. So, but I am ready to dive back in again. So, that's it for today. The better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power, and honor your values. Namaste.